as we continue here, there are motivations for achievement, or motivators. And let's look at this. High relevancy. What does that mean? Come on. Help me out.
Practical application in their life.
Guys, if it's not relative, if they don't understand why this is good for me, you're not going to get through. They may learn it just to learn it, but they're not going to learn it because it's good for them. They may except to get away from that D or F. Okay? So it's got to be relevant. So where does some of your time is spent in building relevance? It's got to be spent there. It's got to be understood. We were talking this morning, and we were talking about how irrelevant a lot of stuff was, at least Corey was, on how irrelevant a lot of stuff is out there that we're learning. And it's true. When we looked at our school and we said, what is relevant in math? We said it's very difficult to find any relevancy for Algebra 2. If you can find one, let me know. We just had a lot of trouble finding any relevancy in Algebra 2.
Most math teachers, we agree.
Yeah.
Students have to go to Algebra 2.
Exactly. I don't know if you know this, but they're right now in the junior colleges and in the colleges, and it will be a very tough sell, but they are trying to do away with Algebra 1. And the relevancy of Algebra 1 in college. Why? Because half the kids that have to end up taking remedial courses because they can't make enough on the ACT and Algebra 1. So what we did in our school is we said, you know what? The relevancy for Algebra 1, you know what it is? The ACT. It's not necessarily that you're going to need the Algebra 1 the rest of your life. Is it good for problem solving? Yes. Is it understanding how to solve for X? Absolutely. Those are good concepts. But about 80% of what you learn in Algebra 1 you'll never see, never know, never care about. But if you're going to go to college, I've got peanut brittle on it. If you're going to go to college and you're going to have to take Algebra 1, you're going to have to do it. And most colleges at this point still have it. It was brought up on the House floor this year. Guy goes up and says, nobody needs Algebra 1. And you had an Algebra 1 teacher that's representative. He stood up and he, in a major way, fought. I mean major, just tore it up.
Are you talking college algebra?
College algebra.
Okay.
What did I say? I said Algebra 1. I'm sorry, college algebra. The guy said we don't need college algebra. Okay. And you know what he's doing now? He's on the commission and his whole attitude has flipped and said, whoa. Do all these kids going in? If I'm an artist, why in the world am I going to need algebra? Oh, I don't want to debate that right now.
No, I'm just. You need to know it when you're like, I was a metalsmith and I needed to know it for formulas on metals, but you have to use it.
I mean, it's not even whether or not so what, we just give everybody a degree now?
Okay, Mr. Professor. The idea is no, we're not. But should you track everybody? I don't want to go through that. The point is being relevant, because we could debate the point, but that's not the point. But is it relevant, and how are we going to sell relevancy? So in ours. But if you go through, you have to go through Con in every stinking bit of it, and you have to master Algebra 1 and geometry. Those two things. And basically it's because when you open that book up and you look at the ACT, that's what you're looking at, the majority of it. So that's that plus the concepts that are good for that. Praise. How are you going to praise kids now? I'm just going to give you one quick tip. All right, praise specifically. Don't say good job. Praise specifically. Would you praise me, please, for what I'm doing up here? Right now. Go ahead. My name's Bill. Tell me.
Bill, you've done a good job.
Oh my gosh, you just broke the rule I just gave you. All right, so do it again and do it right this time.
You've done a good job with achievement.
Okay, done good job with achievement. Thank you. I saw where you had to really roll around. It really came hard coming through there. But if you're after everything's over, Bill, man, you did a really good job of speaking and communicating and connecting, and instead of, oh, good job, walk out the door. Because those things really connect. So when you're praising kids, the kid says something good, you don't say, oh, good job. I don't know if y'all noticed, but this morning when we were talking, I'd say, good job on what you were talking about right there. And had specifics. Now I did throw a few in that I didn't do that I just said, oh, that was great, that was fantastic, Win, y'all did a good job. Of what? Overall. So specifically, this what you hear, and so remember that specific praise is where they're looking for. How to succeed, how others succeed. How about bringing people into your ALE that have really succeeded in there? How about bringing them up for YouTube? Not YouTube, on live Facebook or what's the other thing there?
FaceTime.
No, I was just,
Instagram, Pinterest, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about somebody. Skype. Thank you. The old guy. For Skype. So how about bringing them up for Skype? People that you know. How about bringing them up people that you may connect to and say, look, I want you to talk to my kids. How about breakfast on Friday mornings and bring people in from the community? That has been proven really, really beneficial. We actually tried it and it failed with us, and we shut down. There was a reason it failed, and we couldn't overcome that reason, and so we didn't have it anymore. But there are things out there where how you can get people in your community that succeed, so people look up there and they go, wow, that's what I want. We were talking to Zach's grandmother a while ago that came in here who helped us with this, having this room, and she said Zach saw something. What did you say? She said he saw something that he wanted. What was it?
That DIY show about.
Oh, yeah. I walked in and DIY was on the great pools. Have y'all seen that?
The Pool Kings.
Pool King.
Yes.
Have y'all? How many seen Pool Kings on DIY? Oh my gosh, guys! They're not pools. They're like $1 million, places where you go. It has waterfalls and everything, and it is kind of cool to look at them. He said, "That's what I want. That's why I'm going to college." Well, who knows what turns a kid on? Who knows if he's even just saying that? Empowered to achieve. We talked about that. We're going to move on. Teach how to overcome obstacles. They actually need to know that. How do they overcome obstacles? How is it? Some by helping set goals. Some by helping set small goals, little goals, help them overcome what they're doing. So you've got an obstacle. What are you going to do to help them overcome? What's the idea here? I'm going to help this person achieve, and I'm going to find a way to do it. Inspire mastery. We've talked about that. Manage self-talk. Manage. Let them manage. Don't let them deal with any negative self-talk. You should not allow any negative self-talk. Oh, I can't do that, or I can't do that. Somebody mentioned that a while ago. None of that should be allowed. Everything is for success in where I'm going, and then celebrate things. What does that mean? At the end, if somebody in your class does something really well, come in, have a celebration. And it may be that you have free Cokes for a day, or you may have, there's just all kinds of stuff that you can have. You can have stuff in your desk and throw candy at them when they do really well. There's a ton of things. We had a little deal where I had the kids and they came in at a dart, and if they did something good, they got to throw the dart, and if they hit the thing, they got $20. And we did, like one of the first 2 or 3 did it, hit the $20. Well, I had to pull $20 out of my pocket, but at least it was kind of a fun thing, and I'm not sure how much of a motivation, so I didn't do that very much anymore. But you just never know, guys. And guys here, there are things that hopefully you're thinking about right now. What are some things that you're thinking about that could be motivators? That's where you come in. That could be goal setting. I'm going to run through some of these pretty quick. They need to be gutsy. Show examples of people. Break down the goals and attribute the connections. Okay. Goal improvements. Change from victimization to empowerment. We've talked about that. Study buddies, summarize learning daily. It's one of the ways that as if you set a goal. One of the things we did again that I think has an impact is that in our school we go to a retreat in the fall, and we go to one in the spring. Now, I would highly suggest this to you guys. I'd highly suggest it. This year we're going to Mountain View for our retreat, then we're going to turn around and go to Washington, D.C. Here's what you do. You put up, here's how much money we have to raise. It's got to be raised. You say, well, I got poor kids. They can't raise money. Yeah, they can. And one of the things that you're going to do to teach grit and that you're going to teach long-term goals is they set goals. We put it up on the board. Everybody's got to raise a goal. I had Amber came in this year and said, there's no way. We're not going to be able to go. There's no way they're going to raise this money. Didn't you? And said I said, no, that's fine. We're going to sell some donuts. We'll get it done. Now the fact is they didn't, and those that didn't, their parents bailed them out. All right. Even some of the poor kids, they found it from grandparents or somewhere. So they did succeed, but they didn't by raising money, which we give them ways to sell things and do different things. So there was a bailout, and some of that bailout was because they knew their parents were going to bail them out. But for some of them, it was an unbelievable success. And we do this every year, so they know. So it's an unbelievable success of what they had to do, what they had to go out and get it. They had to show grit. They had to show never giving up. They had to show that this is going to happen. And it was a long-term goal that we set. Now we're going to Washington D.C. this year, and it's going to be a tougher deal. It's going to take a little bit more money, and we're going to have to start right after, really in the fall, to get this done. Is that something that teaches grit? Absolutely. So what are you going to do? What about you? See, I believe Mulberry, last year I tried to get them to go out and to have adventures and different things with those 10 kids. Those 10 crazy kids, you know what I mean by that. Crazy, they're not crazy, but I mean crazy acting sometimes. And I said, if you'll go do that, begin to build some camaraderie with them and work with them, I promise you'll see them begin to turn around. Because what happens with Clint goes out, and he goes out on an adventure with them, what happens? He builds that relationship. Exactly.
I took a group of kiddos to Costa Rica one year, and I told them, I said I would work as hard as you will to fundraise. In other words, I'll match your effort. And they all found a way as well. But the relationships that I've developed with those kids is amazing.
Exactly. And one of the things in setting gutsy goals is for you to set one. Let them see you. Throw something out there. See, if you went out, I did this about 8 years ago. I went into the class and said, okay, I'm going to lose 20 pounds in 1 month. Okay? And I did it. It was close, but I did it. And now they're seeing somebody that will set a goal, that will reach it, and they need to see that. Okay, so you put them off in the into Poor Land. How many goals are being reached in Poor Land? I'm just telling you, they don't understand, they don't see it, they don't even see long-term kinds of things. So I would highly encourage you to see long-term things that work there. Grit, the tenacity and strength to pursue long-term goals. Grit, how many of y'all have heard the term grit going on here lately? You're going to see it more and more and more. I think what I want to do, I know this is a little, and I'll tell you what, I want to start this thing for you, but I think this is worth it. And you had mentioned Carol Dweck earlier. Let's see if they'll come on here. Oops, Bill, would you please?
Is this the teacher's psychologist person? Is that right? Yeah.
When I was 27 years old, I left a very demanding job in management consulting.
Actually,
A job that was
Carol Dweck is the growth mindset person.
Right.
This is Duckworth, who is the grit person.
more demanding. Teaching. I went to teach 7th graders math in the New York City public schools. And like any teacher, I made quizzes and tests, I gave out homework assignments. When the work came back, I calculated grades. What is was that IQ was not the only difference between my best and my worst students. Some of my strongest performers did not have stratospheric IQ scores. Some of my smartest kids weren't doing so well. And that got me thinking, the kinds of things you need to learn in 7th grade math, sure, they're hard. Ratios, decimals, the area of a parallelogram. But these concepts are not impossible. And I was firmly convinced that every one of my students could learn the material if they worked hard and long enough. After several more years of teaching, I came to the conclusion that what we need in education is a much better understanding of students and learning from a motivational perspective, from a psychological perspective. In education, the one thing we know how to measure best is IQ. But what if doing well in school and in life depends on much more than your ability to learn quickly and easily? So I left the classroom and I went to graduate school to become a psychologist. I started studying kids and adults in all kinds of super challenging settings. And in every study, my question was, who is successful here and why? My research team and I went to West Point Military Academy. We tried to predict which cadets would stay in military training and which would drop out. We went to the National Spelling Bee and tried to predict which children would advance farthest in competition. We studied rookie teachers working in really tough neighborhoods, asking which teachers are still going to be here in teaching by the end of the school year. And of those, who will be the most effective at improving learning outcomes for their students? We partnered with private companies asking which of these salespeople is going to keep their jobs and who's going to earn the most money. In all those very different contexts, one characteristic emerged as a significant predictor of success. And it wasn't social intelligence, it wasn't good looks, physical health, and it wasn't IQ. It was grit. Grit is passion and perseverance for very long-term goals. Grit is having stamina. Grit is sticking with your future, day in, day out, not just for the week, not just for the month, but for years, and working really hard to make that future a reality. Grit is living life like it's a marathon, not a sprint. A few years ago, I started studying grit in the Chicago public schools. I asked thousands of high school juniors to take grit questionnaires, and then waited around more than a year to see who would graduate. Turns out that grittier kids were significantly more likely to graduate, even when I matched them on every characteristic I could measure. Things like family income, standardized achievement test scores, even how safe kids felt when they were at school. So it's not just at West Point or the National Spelling Bee that grit matters, it's also in school, especially for kids at risk.
She says something here at the end is very critical. I want you to listen.
I think the most shocking thing about grit is how little we know, how little science knows about building it. Every day, parents and teachers ask me, how do I build grit in kids? What do I do to teach kids a solid work ethic? How do I keep them motivated for the long run? The honest answer is, I don't know.
Thanks.
What I do know is that talent doesn't make you gritty. Our data show very clearly that there are many talented individuals who simply do not follow through on their commitments. In fact, in our data, grit is usually unrelated or even inversely related to measures of talent. So far, the best idea I've heard about building grit in kids is something called growth mindset. This is an idea developed at Stanford University by Carol Dweck, and it is the belief that the ability to learn is not fixed, that it can change with your effort. Dr. Dweck has shown that when kids read and learn about the brain and how it changes and grows in response to challenge, they're much more likely to persevere when they fail because they don't believe that failure is a permanent condition. So growth mindset is a great idea for building grit, but we need more. And that's where I'm going to end my remarks, because that's where we are. That's the work that stands before us. We need to take our best ideas, our strongest intuitions, and we need to test them. We need to measure whether we've been successful, and we have to be willing to fail, to be wrong, to start over again with lessons learned.
Okay, very interesting that in our school, when this came out, we were on top of it. And this was like a 3 or 4 year period of time when this came. I mean, we were right on top of it, begin to do the growth mindset, and we saw a change in our kids. So the growth mindset. But what we did notice is that there were very few solutions to grit. Let's just like exactly what she said. We don't know. Now, on the back of your sheet, if y'all will pick up your little sheet here that says the Poor Student's Great Opportunity, on the back of it there are 10 ways to develop grit. I want you to see that. I don't want you to read them right now. Hang on to that and then add to it. Okay? If we have time tomorrow, we may do that. We're running out of time today, so I don't even want to go through them. You can read, take a look at those. Those will help you in what we're talking about, grit. Last thing here, classroom climate. It's not the last. What's the last thing? The last thing is engage. That's what you've got is a sheet. I made that as a sheet so you can read through the engagement on your own. But this is the last that we'll talk about today. It's called classroom climate. Affirmation, relevancy, engagement, relationships. This is what we're talking about, okay? Making it relevant, affirming what's going on, engaging the kids, and having relationships. Rick, what's our word? Relationships. Okay? In doing that, you've got two things. You've got culture and you've got climate. What's the difference there? What's the difference in culture and climate? Culture is what you build in your classroom. It could be policy. It could be what you do. Climate is how you feel. So how are we feeling about things? So right now there's a culture, let's say in this classroom, what have we tried to do? What have we tried to build in this classroom? Anybody want to help? This week, today, yesterday. What? Relationships. We've tried to build a culture of relationships where we trust each other, where we talk to each other. What else?
Relevancy.
All right, relevancy. We've been teaching that. All right, let's move just a little bit and say, what's the climate in here? Now the climate, listen, the climate dictates the culture. Now you can have a culture in your classroom. You may have a culture of safety. Can that be destroyed in one day? Absolutely. I made a huge mistake 2 years ago. Huge. I broke trust. And I'm not sure that the girl will ever get over it. So did the climate change from trust? Could be. Can your climate change? Yes. What we do, again, and I'm telling you this, let me ask you this. If a kid comes in April that's really disruptive, does it change your climate? Absolutely. So what are you going to do about that? You've got a culture that you have spent 4 or 5 months building, and you've got one kid that comes in that changes the climate, which could change the culture. What are you going to do about that? Can you do anything?
Could your culture not include changing
Could be.
conditions?
It could be. How are you going to deal with that? How many has that happened to you? How many has it happened to you? Yeah. So how are you going to deal with it? So what happens for that person to have to qualify to get in? What happens if that person comes in and they're disruptive? What happens in circle? What can you do in circle? What can you do? Are you thinking?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, the person is disruptive.
Yeah, they come in and they change the climate. You've got a climate of trust. You got everybody accepts each other. He comes in, or she comes in, and all of a sudden you can tell it's changing.
Well, you can ask the student's perception of that as well. And that's one of the things we used Circle for, was to say, okay, I get a sense. Does anybody else maybe sense this? Or are you open? I didn't ask that question you plan the question better than when I just asked it, but you get to the point to where the students are able to share, hey, these are the issues, it hasn't been this way. It's not pointing fingers, but it's at least the students trying to help come back. You should have a culture of respect and rapport where the students be able to come back to effective.
If you've given them a voice, will they voice how to deal with that issue?
Yeah.
Yes. And that's the whole key, guys. If you're empowering them, and then this person is coming in and he's a leader, he's a horrible leader for the wrong kinds of things, and I know Jessica last year had an interview with the new kid. Actually, we had 2 kids come in into March, and we never we don't take kids very often, okay? In fact, we just said, hey, you're at full tuition, and they both went, okay, which full tuition at our place is unheard of because people don't pay full tuition. Both of these had real trouble even paying the tuition. But we said full tuition if you want in, because we knew. And I said, Jessica, if they come in, and this is one that I allowed her, and I think you were in on the conversation, I said the main thing is if you feel like this person will come in and change the culture of what we got, we don't want them. Now the fact is they came in and it was close, okay? Because this one person was a leader and was kind of led in a direction that we didn't necessarily want, but what's happened towards the end of the year, he began to roll back. Now, we took a risk. Now with us, we have an option. Sometimes you don't have that option, but you do have the option, how do you handle things? So he comes into that classroom, is he going to be a part of that culture, or does he have to earn his way in? Real interesting. So what are you going to do? And that helps in maybe doing that. Climate, relationships first, guys. Please, empowering them, challenge everything. Let them challenge what's going on. Safe classroom, emotional safety. These things are what the climate day in, day out. The culture is just kind of what you're all about. What's your purpose? What's going on? How do you build that culture? Very interesting to keep up with that. Cool rules. Be nice, work hard, make no excuses, choose well. You know what this one down here? I've got a rule that if you're not doing this is probably our best rule ever. And we say, if you say no, that means no. If a kid says no, that means no. And if you violate that in our school, that's not a good thing. So if you say don't touch my phone and they touch the phone, that's a bad thing. It's major bad because you've come in and taken personal space away from somebody that said no. And to teach them, if somebody says no, that means absolutely not. If we're up playing and doing something and you've had enough and you say, I'm done, I've had enough. No, that's a no, you stop it. And if you can take care of that, what you're going to find in your classrooms is a lot of that stuff will stop. Okay? Because how many people have heard the rape issues of girls saying no and the guy says, well, she really wanted me to go ahead and go through with it. No means no. Okay, but you could have some cool rules. These are just general kinds of things. And what kind of culture is this going to demonstrate? You see the point. This is a certain culture that you're throwing out there of just being nice, of working hard, making no excuses. It's not don't touch this, don't touch that, don't touch that. It's just a cool rule. You also have classroom jobs. Chief Learning Officer. What would they do? They're in charge sometimes of the climate, or if you want to learn something, they're in charge of getting papers passed out. They're in charge of doing stuff. You've got a chief safety officer. If things are going on that the others don't know, this person is in charge of helping and working with them. May or may not work in your particular school. I forget what key grade. I'll come back to that. Communication and publicity. What's going on with it? Keeping this on either a Facebook or keeping this on social media or something that you got somebody that can handle that and do that, or communications of what's going on with the ALE. Could be environmental protection. If people are throwing trash out and doing things, then again, you can come up with an unbelievable number of things that will help build that culture to where they have responsibility and they buy into what you are doing. You could have an adventure person that is in charge of your adventures. You could have a person that's in charge of maybe your circles. and you can actually say what I'd like for such and such to do is to lead the circle. So there are things that you can do there that I think would help. Engagement, we're done. Now, here's what I want to do. Mike's going to come up here and Mike, go ahead and get set up. Before we finish, I want him to go through the website. And so, but what I want to do is to review here just for a second and say this. When you're dealing with kids, you've got to remember it's personal relationship first. That's it. The number two that you've got to remember is to build the climate within your school. The third thing is you've got to engage these kids. And again, on your sheet there are different areas of how you can engage and what you can do to engage, and you can come up with a ton more of those. This needs to be a whole 2 hours that we spend on engagement. We may have a little bit of time tomorrow if we do to talk about it, but this is one of the places where if teachers get together, then man, you could come up with a lot of things on how to engage your students. So we've got those things, and then the achievement is the other thing. How to set that achievement where it is high, where it is something that these kids can strive for, but still that they can attain. So that is my objective today. I will send you some notes on that and how you can work with that. Any comments or anything as we're winding down here? Name one thing that you can take back from that.
Give it a voice.
Okay, give them a voice. Good. Okay.
I mean, the grit thing, the good old-fashioned grit idea, when some kids, I mean, I was sitting there thinking, some kids think, well, I'm just dumbing a rock.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about grit.
And growth mindset.
Right.
Those two together will change how they think.
I mean, just,
Yeah. Good for you. Good for you. The great answer. See how specific I was? What else? What can you take back?
Engaging. Like engaging the students is very important.
Okay.
A lot of different ways to engage and how to engage.
All right. 10 areas of grit. What can you take back for that?
For the 10 areas of grit?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
You'll have to read them first.
well, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
All right.
But I like the idea of bringing somebody in who's overcome, who shows grit, so they can see what grit looks like in a real person.
I think a lot of times, I think one of the things that I really have wished that we had done and have not done, or one of the things that we should have done over the years, is use the Skype. A lot of great people out there that you could Skype in. A lot of maybe even other kids, in other schools that have achieved, but different achievements of maybe people that they know, and who knows, you may email some music rapper or something, or do something that has achieved something and say, look, could you Skype, for 15 minutes our kids and give them a little. Who knows what might happen? But those kinds of things really can help. One last thing, use music. I went down and watched the presentation in Austin. And one of the things that he did that was very effective, and I really liked, he came up with 20 playlists. And this is something that your kids can actually do, by the way. You could have somebody in charge of your playlist. And he came up with 20 playlists, and when the kids were doing their workbooks or doing something, he'd hit that on and the music would come on, and it was a song that was on the top 20, but that was appropriate. And he had gone through every song and made sure that everything was appropriate with what was going on. A great way just to use music within your school that I think we could have done a lot better. Okay, Mike's going to go through the website, and then we're done for the day.
He was talking about Skyping in different people. This just happened a few months ago. My oldest daughter is 21 years old, And she was Instagram friends with somebody who was Instagram friends with somebody with a star that she's idolized since she was a little bitty. She called me. She called me. I was about a month ago. Well, the school was still in, I think so, but it was the day of the school. She called me and she said, "You're never going to believe who I'm fixing to get a phone call from." And I said, "Well, you know, obviously I'm not going to guess who." She said, "Cher is fixing to call me." And it's just, you know, you never know who you can get to Skype in with or something. If she had still been in our class, she talked to Cher. Her buddy, somehow she was friends with a friend, and her buddy, and she ended up Cher and this lady and her mother were on their way from Malibu to take her mother to the doctor's office, and they had her on speakerphone, and Aubrey made her sing a little bit of Half Breed. That was her favorite song, and something else. But you know, you get your kids. They can ask or till you find out how far along you can be. The website. Let's all try to log in right quick. Y'all want to? Let's make sure everybody's in. So it should be your email address, and it should be unless you've changed the password, it'll be HB1234, and everybody get in, and we'll see what. I would, you know, it's up to you guys. I don't, you know, if like Amber and I were in the same website and her password was same and I knew it, I'm gonna mess with her. So I would change my password.
Now, is this a different one than the one with the girl with glasses?
Yeah, let's look. Yeah, let's go there and I'll show you the login. Wow, that's little, isn't it? So this is the heartbridgelearninglab.com website. On the left-hand side is the menu, and there's some great articles. And if we post, y'all, we'll more than likely post on this website or in the forums on the other website. But so it's not bad to check. But the menu pops out. Then, like was supposed to be there yesterday, is a tab that says Client Login. You click on that. And on the left-hand side, I should still be, I'm already logged in, but on the left-hand side, it'll have a login. You can see everybody else that's logged in down here. There's several things that you guys can take advantage of on here. Number one, if you need curriculum, copies of curriculum, check curriculum, this is our go-to space. Under the curriculum menu, there are three links. There's the Pathways to SEL Competency, view and download different curriculums, and they're listed by number. And then Module 1, we just put that up. It's just an outline to help you if you're lost and don't know where to go next. That's your best go-to spot to keep them in order the way we recommend that you teach them. The discussion forum. If you want to see all of the clients, if you guys remember somebody here and you want to talk to them or reach out or connect to them, you can look at the client list. Everybody's listed. You can probably, if you're just that antisocial person, you can probably set yours up to where you're not allowed to be friends. But it's a social network inside itself, so you guys can add each other as friends. Obviously, depending on how you set your preferences, when we create forum topics or you create questions, you can set it to email you with responses. Some people like that. Some people would just rather check back at their own convenience. I'm participating in 2 or 3 discussion forums now. And one of them, for some reason, you can't email yourself notifications, and I'll post a question. And it's aggravating to me that I have to log on to the website to see if anybody's responded or not. This one's not that way. It gives you the option. On every page at the bottom will just be some recent forum replies and recent forum topics. It's just just if you want to see what everybody's talking about. So what can you use the forum for, guys? What are some examples of things you can use the forum for?
Lessons learned, maybe. Like I might contact him and say, I'm about to do this in this area.
Right.
Or something you guys.
If you have recommendations, there's a very handy search bar that will search within the forum for different, if you guys are going to be doing victimization, and we've all done victimization, maybe you're going back to it. as long as we're all participating, we're all being good community members, there'll be help available. We've got moderators, myself, Mr. Vining, and Mark get an email when somebody posts a topic. So your topic, even if there's nothing in the menus now, even if it's an empty topic right now, we'll get you an answer. Post the question, we'll get an email that says somebody's posted, and one of the moderators will kick in. Now, after you guys have been here a year or two, or maybe not even, if some of you want to help with the moderation, we're not. It's not a closed group. Just make that request, and we'll set it up, because we're always looking, guys. It's the collaboration that makes this thing really great. We're here to offer guidance and a source of direction, but your individual boat, how you get there, is up to you. And you guys may come up with something that works really well. There's some games up there now that I think, did you post the games or okay, Corey posted the game. But just for ideas, or if something works really well, put it up there so everybody can see. That's the advantage of going to the bottom and just looking at the recent posts and just see who's talking about what. And the difference, y'all, between just a mediocre, average, everyday forum and a really fantastic tool that we can all use, the difference is the participation. We'll post, and we have posted from time to time, tips and suggestions that we find helpful, but it's like, if nobody's asking that question, we're answering questions nobody's asking. You see what I'm saying? So as we go through this, and the time to do it, you always think, I know it's easy to think, well, that was a great circle question today. That opened up some real conversation. Because circle questions are the way we word them. Yet Mr. Vining and I had a little bit of discrepancy yesterday how we wanted to do the question for circle. Well, it depends on what your goals are. And so the thought in that, if you find a really good question that works well for us, post it up there and do it while you're thinking about it. It just takes a second. You can get on the website. It's mobile friendly, so you can do all this from your phone. It just takes a second. Are there any navigation questions?
What is the reason why you need the website? Why? Besides what he said.
Download the curriculum.
Exactly.
That's the first thing we said, yeah.
Did you say that?
Uh-huh.
You got those, okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we started off with that, then we went into the forum. You were talking with Amber, but I won't say nothing.
I was.